This is the powers that be, Sergeant Busy, coming to you live from Fallujah. Yeah.
Tonight, American forces are inside Fallujah.
U.S. and Iraqi troops are pounding the city of Fallujah.
Oh, yeah.
You hear that? You hear that? That shit going down on Fallujah. That's where we're going to be in a matter of hours.
Coalition forces have assaulted Fallujah for the purpose of putting down this insurgency.
This is a frontal assault on a major city, the kind of fight they like.
Red's clearing some stuff over here, so we have to watch our fire to the left.
Combat beers. Combat beers! Woo!
Hey, turn that on! Let's go!
Our guys are in the building right there to our direct front. Team walking around, running back to the Humvee now.
All over the country, all walks of life, races, ethnicities, backgrounds, experiences. They're just a team. They're just a family.
There was no shortage of valor. Absolutely no shortage. Bravery everywhere you turned. I referred to them more than once, quite often, as Saint Warpig because they were the guys that could and would show up to anything.
Company commander of Charlie Company, 1st LAR.
What the heck is LAR? Light Arm Reconnaissance. I'm like, oh, cool, recon. Yeah, not really, but something like it.
None of us knew what LAR was, what an LAV was, anything related to it. I just remember some corporal saying we call it lazy-ass riflemen, and I thought in my head, thank God.
Light Armored Reconnaissance performs what the Army would refer to as a cavalry role.
We're mobile, and we can move about the battle space really fast.
It's a special operations capable mechanized reconnaissance unit. Tip of the spear.
Brief description of an LAV is it's an 8-wheeled light armored vehicle that's semi-aquatic.
An engineer and architect took together a boat and a tank. He combined them together. He decided to remove the tracks and put 8 wheels on it, throw on the props. He borrowed a chain gun from a helo, slapped it on, made an exceptional vehicle. That's what an LAV is.
You have a scout compartment in the back.
Scouts were like everything from 0311s to assaultmen or mortarmen. Like heck, there was even like mechanics would work from time to time, be in there. Even MIMS clerks, guys that would order parts, were oftentimes scouts or drivers.
What a WARPIG is it's our call sign.
1st Light Armored Reconnaissance, Charlie Company WARPIGs.
For us, being tied to that call sign, it was like, well, we're the WARPIGs, and that is my pig.
The pig, which is what we call our LAVs. Because we refer to them looking like pigs.
And that pig becomes everything to you. Living out of that thing is an interesting experience in and of itself.
When you're on a vehicle, you do everything together. You share fire watch, you have meals, you watch each other while you're making a head call, whatever it is, and that's where you feel comfortable.
What are you doing? Take a look, I'm fishing. Oh, that's sick.
LAR scouts were such a smaller contingent than a regular, like a regular infantry battalion. There was so few of us. Our battalion allotments of ammo and weapon systems were far more than a regular infantry battalion.
I think we had better training as far as a little bit more smaller fire teams. So we were able to, train as smaller sections.
LAR was kind of like a unique place because it was made up of a hodgepodge of people.
Garrison Marines, you're sitting out there, we're training, you're doing a lot of things that are miserable with these guys every single day. You spend more time with these guys than, you did with your siblings at home growing up. It's something that you don't experience with anything else in your life.
The barracks where you built that camaraderie.
It becomes like that brotherhood.
We were tight, so me, Matt, and Kyle hanging out, being stupid.
A lot of us had been together for almost 2 years at that point. It was a really tight-knit group, and you didn't have, I think, the normal churn that you see sometimes in the Marine Corps. I think it made us a lot closer to each other. It also made it harder when, things went bad.
So going into our second deployment, I think it was a very tight unit because we've already had that experience from OIF-1.
We had a few new drops, but for the majority,
we were pretty seasoned.
So I got attached to Charlie Company in September. It's tough because I was still an outsider.
Everybody say hi.
Our company went on an Okinawa deployment.
We weren't sure we were going anywhere other than Okinawa. And then the rumors started happening, right? The Lance Corporal Underground started working.
I also, in my brief time, considered myself the actual source of the Lance Corporal Underground, something I'm very proud about. The Marine Corps is run by Lance Corporals. They're the minions doing the work. And you'll be surprised at what a little conversation in a smoke pit what kind of info will come out of that.
You get the scuttlebutt, where guys are just, talking. They're like, oh, there's something big going on.
1st Battalion, 3rd Marine Regiment, or Battalion Landing Team 1-3. We got a call from them after being on Okinawa for about a month. They called us up and said, hey, we think we might end up going to Iraq. We want more light armor.
I remember being in the room when the word was passed that we were going to Iraq, and we were like, leaving very soon. And then that very soon turned into like, pack your shit, we're going.
We had a meeting with the MU folks and the BLT folks, and they're like, we have room for 13 vehicles. There's generally 25 vehicles, a standard company.
We were left then with kind of a shell of a company, and we had a couple weeks where we just didn't know what we were going to do.
So what they had was an extra log and a whole bunch of extra scouts.
I put as many scouts that I could in that vehicle.
It's really just a hodgepodge of what they had available.
So we were kind of this unique kind of ragtag kind of complement for Fallujah.
Flag that was put on. That is awesome. So yeah, it definitely was a motley crew, like a hodgepodge of like just a bunch of guys from different platoons. I always said that we were like the bastards, like they didn't care about us. They just threw us in one vehicle, like you guys are good.
And then next thing you know, within 4 days, we were on ship. 5 days, we're steaming away.
There's fishy fish. What's up?
Taping your CDs or what?
Nah, I'm just showing Kuwait what we sleeping in Kuwait.
Man, we didn't know. We thought we were going to be in Kuwait for a while, just sitting there as like a reserve force. Then we started pushing north. We're all going to die.
I seemed to be the only one in our company that knew we were going to Fallujah. I was a news junkie, and after the Blackwater guys got, hung up on the bridge and burned, I was hearing a lot of talk about fresh fighting and stuff like that.
The city just became a stronghold for the insurgents, and it was kind of this giant tumor.
We get kind of rumblings like there's going to be something big, like something big is happening.
Just videotape us while we're in a combat zone. You're gonna be the one to get us all killed. Way to go. Way to go, be an ass pirate. Yeah. You can't come over your sector of fire with the video camera. I can't.
Basically, we're doing patrols around, like kind of containment-like patrols around the city of Fallujah.
We had a combat journalist attached to us, Scott Peterson from Christian Science Monitor, great warrior, by the way.
We're doing patrols down into like between Camp Fallujah and Abu Ghraib, south of the cities, and that's when we had our first casualties.
We were conducting patrols outside of Camp Fallujah. Next thing I knew, I was riding an LAV on a shit show wave. Huge explosion through the vehicle.
Somebody got fucking IED.
The vehicle pitches forward, I kind of come to a little out of it. That was the first time any of us had gotten hit.
Every day we were doing assaults on the southern side of the city. So a fake attack. We'd go there, we'd shoot at them, they'd shoot back, we'd leave. The next day we'd go there, shoot at them, and leave.
As we did these feints to kind of close on Fallujah, we're collecting on how is the enemy responding to these different things we're doing, and so we could understand their defensive scheme and maneuver. So those shaping actions had some effect, but what they did internal for the force, we were getting Marines used to closing on the city, kind of inoculating the Marines for what was to come.
I think we were about 900 meters shy of the actual southern edge of the city. They quickly began ranging our vehicles with mortars, small arms, medium and heavy machine guns.
Our platoon had been tasked with going in and trying to draw some enemy fire, and we did, and I remember just thinking, hell yeah, this is what it's all about, And I remember the bullets hitting in front of our face and the dirt splashing up in our face from the enemy fire and not thinking anything of it. I was excited. I mean, that's what I signed up to do. I joined to go fight and kick indoors, and that's what I finally got to do. So I was pumped. Back then, I thought I was invincible.
I think for us, that seemed like, okay, this is, some action. Everybody was ready to go. And I don't think it was until we got hit in November that everyone recognized, like, this is going to be a different fight.
The company commander, Gil Juarez, he had actually gave me a secondary, job there in the company. I was a company intel officer, so I had a MIMS clerk by the name of Lance Corporal Jason Smith.
So I remember we had just gotten done with the chow hall. We finished eating, and then we got the word that we're moving on in, and so we loaded up.
There's a block of C4.
We're at Camp Fallujah. We get the call to stage.
Yeah. That was fucking. You hear that? You hear that? That shit going down on Fallujah. That's where we're gonna be in a matter of hours. So hours. If this tape gets out, tell my family that I love them. Ready?
Oh yeah. Tell me you're not scared.
Hey. It takes a big man to admit that he's scared, and I'm a little bit scared of it.
And the idea was that 6 battalions, 2 Army and 4 Marines, were going to line up along that berm, and each battalion was going to cut through that berm in their own lane and then attack online. So 6 battalions attacking online, pushing through the city like a giant squeegee.
In the near future, this evening, we're going to be taking off. Basically, we're going to be crossing the big MSR. Our platoon is going to basically bring up all the line companies, all the straight leg regular grunts, through the berm, the breach area of the berm, so they can get put into the north end of the city of Fallujah. Once we get into the city, we're going to start kind of flanking and screening to the side where there's not going to be any grunts, because we're going to protect their left side, so none of the insurgents, none of the guys are going to come to attack them.
Basically, blah blah blah. He's a dirty train. Basically, we're gonna kill a whole bunch of motherfuckers.
They were told, right? We're coming. If you're a civilian, you need to leave the city. So it was not a secret.
As an LAR guy, I got told as a lieutenant, we don't do mount training because you'll never do a mount fight. And then there we are. We're going into Fallujah now.
In mount training, military operations in urban terrain, the casualty rate is like 85%. You can't go into an urban environment like that and not take casualties.
At the time, Captain Wars had a meeting with the whole company. He says, look, this is going to be a big battle.
Gil made a really good speech, like he does all the time. The man is, I don't know, I say like more than a man, less than a god, And he said, gents, before we go, like you guys need to make peace with your maker. Like you need to like sort your personal affairs so that you can go in with a clear-minded conscience.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact words. You got to fight with a happy heart. Our business is combat, and there's no guarantees in combat. And the probability was, we were going to lose guys. Death is part of our business. I want you to be the most effective, efficient, and ethical killer on the battlefield, and I want you to be harder to kill than the enemy. Set your fears aside. Let's focus on the mission. Take care of each other.
I just remember sitting there and just looking at everybody kind of like, oh man, this is real. Like we're going to be getting into something big,
I had accepted that I was going to die in Fallujah. I accepted with what they were saying, what was going to happen. I had already accepted that I wasn't going to go home.
And I mean, there were some butterflies. There was some, it was fear. It was excitement. You realize that something big is going to happen, and it's going to be ugly on all sides.
So we definitely knew that this was going to be a real fight. This was not, a simple push through a city. And this was the real deal. This was our generation's way city.
Nothing exciting out there?
No, nothing to see.
We'd been sitting kind of like north of the city, waiting on the order to begin the assault. I was going to be the guy with the bulldozer. It was going to go up, make a breach lane through this berm just north of the city.
There's a railroad, elevated railroad line outside the city, suspected to have heavy emplacement of IEDs.
We're currently sitting about 800 meters from the beginning of the city. We're in the northern part of the city, and they're going to send up in a couple of minutes 3 big dozers they're going to take up there. They're going to doze down the berm, and on go the grunts. Everybody goes in.
Night came, the rain came, and then the white phosphorus came.
It's like a scene out of Star Wars. The tracers and everything are going. Explosions, chaos, radio chatter, confusion.
We're being shot at.
Yeah, in the first 24 hours, I probably had about maybe a dozen different fire missions that we were calling in that night.
How many munitions did I drop in the first few days? I would say a couple thousand rounds probably, and that was just me.
So we get up there to the breach, the bulldozer kind of goes squirrely. It's kind of starting to do its own thing. And I remember Mike Aubrey, the other platoon commander, has to get off his vehicle and like chase this thing down in the middle of the night, in the middle of this firefight, establish communications with this guy again to get him to the breach lane to start going through.
We were going to secure that breach site, and then we were going to guide the engineers forward so they could cut through the berm. It did not go according to plan.
There's something wrong, like the bulldozer can't get through, it takes forever.
So they sent the engineers out, they tried to push through one of the bulldozer got stuck, and then they tried to use more explosives on the railroad tracks, it didn't work. They used the other bulldozer, that bulldozer got stuck.
Hour goes by, we're still at the breach site. Another hour goes by, we're still at the breach site. It's an all-night ordeal, just a total debacle.
Mike Downing was a young combat engineer that got attached to us. He had a very small two-man team. They're down there clearing that area, and Mike Downing was hit, and we evacuated him, immediately, and we got him out of there. We got him back to the hospital. He actually got evacuated to Germany. Don't know exactly what happened, but his body just shut down on him, and he passed away.
But like while this is going on, my scouts had pushed up there, so they're on the breach. They're like securing the site, waiting for the bulldozer to get up to go through, and one of the scouts trips.
He was all Rambo'd out with grenades and flashbangs all over his vest. When he jumped on the berm, he hooked a pin to the flashbang.
And I'm looking, and I'm watching this whole thing happen through my NVGs, and I see him roll on his back and frantically start grabbing at his chest. Well, it's too late. The flashbang goes off, right? And it takes off part of his, his fingers. So, all right, we haven't even gone into the city, and now I'm dealing with this.
Tanks were getting hit with mortars. There was just a lot of confusion, a lot of indirect fire. We could tell from the looks of it that we were in for a hell of a fight.
From there, it was just chaos.
And I remember vividly, like, it not being until, like, daylight the next day, like, we're finally in the city.
Fallujah's a small town, right? It's 5 kilometers, about like 3.5 kilometers. It's very concentrated, dense.
Pushing into the city, just, pushing in front of the vehicle, and it was just like that eerie, empty, like, dead city for the most part. I mean, just no life. You just hear these big eruptions of gunfire, and then it'd be quiet.
You're just sitting there and you kind of catch something out of the corner of your eye.
It was real quiet. It was eerie.
So we're driving down there, and there's like dead dudes on the side of the road, buildings burnt out on fire, vehicles on fire, and we're kind of just like going down. It's just like really quiet, like it's like morning.
The first dead body that I saw, I'll always remember, laying on the road, there was about 6 or 7 insurgents, like from the waist down, they were just missing and all their intestines were out. And it was the first real dead body that I had seen. And so I was like, wow, man, this is real. It was a scary time.
And I recall, seeing the first enemy body in the streets, and it was pretty clear from where the artillery impact was that that was our fires from the night before.
And people started to realize, like, hey, this is going to be the real deal. We're about to lose a lot of bodies. We're going to lose a lot of Marines.
Lieutenant Weber, he said, hey, scouts out. And so we're like, oh man, okay, now it's go time, and man, I was scared. I was like, oh man, I was so scared.
I look over and I see this guy in like tracksuits, like the black Adidas pants and a white t-shirt and sandals. He pops out and he lifts his arms and he squats down and he's got an RPG. And he shoots this thing, and it goes right over my head.
This RPG goes ripping by, and then, the 25 millimeters going off, and, all of a sudden we're in it.
And that was close, so I open up on him and I just start spraying.
Like, it was a little hectic, the very first initial push into the city. I can remember hearing the rounds hitting our side of our vehicle. I have a video of DeBlanc's down, and he's on the radio, and I said, I want to get up and I want to look at it. I want to look, and he's like, no docs allowed.
Yeah, no shit. Are you taking fire? These guys are fun. Are you taking fire? No.
You get up there.
You get up. You get up.
You can't get up. No former allowed.
Maggot, let me up.
Super quiet, and then all of a sudden, dude, it just went off. This RPG comes flying by my vehicle, and it was like, whoa! And Fish is in the back, and Magway's in the back, and they were shooting us off the sides of the vehicle, and it went flying by, and it went directly into Matty Yoda's vehicle.
We took a rocket to the front of the vehicle, and I just remember the explosion, a ton of smoke, and then just knowing that we had to get out of that spot so we could evaluate what had gone on. And Pintilli, his knees had taken a bunch of shrapnel, and then I had taken some in my hand, my head, and luckily there was an Army support vehicle there with a bunch of medics, and they patched us up.
I think by the end of the first day, we found a house that was in our battalion sector. We set it up as a company CP, and we started running combat patrols.
Towards the end of the day, they started playing this chant over the speakers in all the mosques.
The Iraqi translator said, they said something like, pick up arms and kill Americans in the name of Allah or some shit like that.
And it was really eerie, and it had some like horses and gunshots.
We're 24 hours in, not even. Reality was setting in real quick, like, oh, this is way different than anything we'd been in.
First few days, we were tired continuously, fatigued already, but kind of exciting in a sense.
It was incredibly like a high tempo. Like definitely the first 24, 36 hours, I don't think anybody slept. You're so tired, you're hallucinating. You've got to come up with a rest plan. You've got to do something. I remember we had pushed in, we had occupied this house.
We see this big kind of a mansion looking thing with this big brick wall, and we're like, hey, let's park this thing in the living room and pull the vehicle into the house, get it out of the street. We don't want to park it on the side of the street, come out the next morning and the rims are gone.
Had occupied this thing. Guys are taking their turns, taking 2 or 3 hour naps, just trying to get something in. At night, it would be like we'd go out and you'd go on these little security patrols, right? And then you'd get into sporadic gunfights.
And we dispersed into the city, and we would clear a house and we'd take a foothold and then just sit there, and then that would kind of be our base of operations, and then we would go out and start clearing houses.
After we would establish ourselves, we would have blocks of homes to clear throughout a day, and once we started clearing our blocks, these houses were so close together, so we were able to we would clear up for one structure and then go rooftop to rooftop with our expandable ladders, and it's obviously safer and easier to clear top down.
If you clear the building from the top down, they always feel like they can run out the front door.
Is there a room right there? Finish you.
They're less inclined to fight as hard because they'll just flee. But what they don't know is that there's an LAV at the end of that street, and they're going to run out the street and get mowed down. And so that was the tactic.
The homes, everybody would kind of make a joke that, these were like mud huts and these were small structures. These were well-built, established, poured concrete homes. They were indestructible. Most of the houses had these center stairwells that were just meat grinder death trap.
Day to day, every day seemed like the same day. Groundhog's Day over and over again, just clearing houses. They all kind of blend together.
I would say in these house-to-house, street-to-street fighting, it was like pot shots. You get sprayed, and then you're like, where the heck did that come from?
I don't see him, I don't see him. You see the shots that come from?
Or you see a guy pop up and shoot at you, and then he's gone. And it feels like you're fighting ghosts. It felt like you were fighting ghosts.
It was tough because they were very, very patient. And there was a lot of times you'd get shot at and not even have a clue where it's coming from. So you you always had to be on your toes.
They definitely had some formal training from someone somewhere. They knew what they were entrenched, man. They knew what they needed to do and what they were there for.
Hey, tell everybody hold their fire. Sit the 2 detonated marines.
Everything was group effort. If you shot, we all shot. We were killing by groups. Nightly rest and daily rest was just whenever you could. If we had a second that you could just sit down and sleep, you would.
Man, turn that shit.
And while all those guys were getting their Z's, those mechanics were fixing their shit.
But my rest, like I mentioned as a mechanic, was to work on all the vehicles. And I had vehicles from every single platoon coming at all hours of the day. Yeah, I don't recall getting much sleep then.
So every morning at first light, we'd have our task, our blocks that we would hit that day. They'd say, hey, Sergeant Boyd, you guys are going to clear from this number to this number and all the homes basically in between.
This is where we're at right here.
Right here?
All right.
All right, basically all these little things right here are like one room concrete structures, no bigger than this, but there's an ass ton of them. We're gonna be clearing all of them. So do you guys have any questions on this?
There's more than one line.
Maps.
Fuck
the maps.
And I would armor up. I would have several pounds of TNT. I would have C4, dozens of 40 mil launchable grenades. I would have hand-thrown smoke grenades, regular hand grenades. We'd have a dozen of those apiece. I jumped on a scale and I was well over 300 pounds. And you'd be lightened up by the afternoon. Very munitions intensive.
Target!
Days and days of combat, and every day living through it. You know, every house you clear, a little bit more confidence, a little bit more arrogance. I was confident. I was confident in myself. I was confident in our fire team. Felt like I was invincible.
I mean, we were 19, 20 years old. You feel like you're invincible. You think you're invincible.
I mean, man, it's a rush. It's like the biggest rush you can have when you're blowing open a door or whatever. It's an adrenaline rush that you can't get from anything else. We lived off of it. Still at that point, you know, we all thought we were invincible.
You go on these patrols, you take shots, you'd return fire. And at that time, we hadn't taken any casualties, so it wasn't heavily contested like it would become in a few days.